In this video, survey research is thoroughly explained, including its definition, the motivations behind conducting surveys, the applicable scenarios for survey research, and the various methods used to conduct surveys. Additionally, the video explores helpful insights for creating effective survey questions. What are survey research? Let us see how to define survey research. Survey research is a quantitative research method. It is used to gather information from a sample of individuals or groups about their attitudes, opinions, behaviors, beliefs, or experiences on a particular topic or issue. It is a popular and effective way to study large populations through a representative sample. Let us now look at when survey research is mostly conducted. Survey research can be conducted in various situations and contexts, depending on the specific objectives and needs of the study. We look at some common scenarios when survey research is conducted. Academic research. Surveys are used in academic research across various disciplines such as sociology, psychology, economics, political science, and education. Researchers use surveys to study human behavior, attitudes, and opinions on specific topics of interest. Market research. Businesses and marketing professionals use surveys to gather information about consumer preferences, product feedback, market trends, and customer satisfaction. Public policy analysis. Governments and policymakers use surveys to assess public opinion, gather feedback on proposed policies, and measure the impact of existing programs. Social and health studies. Surveys are employed in studies related to public health, social issues, and community development to collect data on healthcare access, lifestyle behaviors, social inequalities, and more. Customer feedback. Organizations use customer satisfaction surveys to understand their clients' experiences and identify areas for improvement. Employee surveys. Organizations conduct surveys to gather feedback from their employees on workplace satisfaction, work-life balance, job engagement, and organizational culture. Program evaluation. Surveys are used to assess the effectiveness of various programs, initiatives, or interventions to determine if they are achieving their intended goals. Academic surveys. Schools and universities conduct surveys among students and faculty to gather feedback on educational programs, student support services, and teaching quality. Demographic studies. Surveys are conducted to collect demographic data such as age, gender, income, ethnicity, and more. This data is essential for understanding population characteristics and making policy decisions. What are the methods of gathering information? There are a number of methods available to collect data in conducting survey research. These methods have both advantages and disadvantages. When selecting a suitable method, you need to consider several factors such as convenience, reliability of information collected, cost, and type of information to be collected. Let us look at these methods. Online surveys. With the increasing prevalence of the Internet, online surveys have become a popular and convenient method for conducting survey research. Researchers use various online survey platforms to create and distribute surveys to participants who respond through web-based questionnaires. Telephone surveys. Telephone surveys involve contacting respondents by phone and conducting interviews over the phone. Telephone surveys were more common in the past, but they are still used, especially when reaching populations without internet access. Face-to-face surveys. In face-to-face surveys, researchers approach respondents in person at various locations, such as public places, shopping centers, events, or door-to-door interviews. This method is commonly used in demographic studies and community research. Mail surveys. In mail surveys, questionnaires are sent to respondents through the postal service. Participants fill out the survey and return it via mail. Though less common due to longer response times, some studies still employ this method, especially when dealing with certain populations or sensitive topics. Focus group surveys. While not strictly surveys in the traditional sense, focus groups involve gathering a small group of participants to discuss specific topics or issues in depth. The facilitator guides the discussion, and the responses are recorded for analysis. Survey research is conducted through a systematic process that involves several key steps. We will now look at how survey research is typically conducted. Define research objectives. Clearly articulate the purpose and goals of the survey. Determine what specific information you want to gather and what insights you hope to gain from the data. Develop the survey instrument. Create the survey questionnaire that contains the questions intended to collect the necessary data. The questions should be clear, concise, and unbiased. Pilot test the survey. Before administering the survey to the target audience, conduct a pilot test with a small group of individuals who are similar to the intended respondents. This helps identify any potential issues with the questionnaire, such as ambiguous questions or technical problems. Choose the sampling method. Decide on the sampling method to select a representative sample from the target population. Common sampling methods include random sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling, and convenience sampling. The choice of method depends on the research objectives and available resources. Data collection. Once the survey instrument and sampling method are in place, start the data collection process. This can be done through various methods explained before. Analyze the data. After data collection, the responses need to be compiled and analyzed. This involves using statistical software to organize and process the data to identify patterns, trends, and relationships. Interpret findings. Analyze the data to draw meaningful conclusions and insights from the survey results. Consider the research objectives and how the data can address them effectively. Report the results. Present the findings of the survey in a comprehensive report or presentation. The report should include the research objectives, methodology, key findings, data visualizations, and any relevant insights or recommendations. Writing effective questions. The creation of effective survey questions is essential to accurately measure the opinions of the participants. If the questions are poorly worded, unclear, or biased, the responses will be useless. A well-written question will communicate the information so that all participants interpret it the same way and understand the expected type of response. We will now look at some points you should consider when creating questionnaire. Be clear, specific, and direct. Lack of clarity in explaining the purpose of a question can result in confusion and misinterpretation. To avoid this, ensure that your questions are specific and do not contain imprecise or vague language. Clearly state the topic and define the behaviors, events, or timeframe in question. This approach will help ensure consistency in the responses provided by all participants. As an example, rather than inquiring, "What is your educational qualification?" ask, "What is your highest educational qualification at the time of your first employment?" This revised question will elicit more specific and relevant information from respondents. Avoid biased questions. When creating screening questions, it is consequential to avoid biased questions as they can lead to inaccurate results and affect your data's quality. For example, a question such as, "Do you agree that our product is the best on the market?" suggests that the product is the best, or, "Do you believe that alternative medicine is effective?" leads the respondent to answer positively. Instead, ask neutral and objective questions that do not imply a particular answer. For example, try asking, "How would you rate our product?" For the question, "Do you agree that our product is the best on the market?" as this question is neutral and does not suggest a specific answer. Consider the time and effort required to respond. When formulating questions, take into account the time and effort needed to respond. If the questions are time-consuming or difficult, participants are more likely to provide inaccurate answers. On the other hand, lengthy and complex questions can be problematic, leading respondents to skip or provide inaccurate responses. To prevent your questions from becoming overly demanding, take into account the length of your questionnaire and the number of inquiries posed. If you require numerous responses, contemplate dividing them into several sections or pages to enhance their manageability. Use the participants' vocabulary. When designing a survey, take the education level of the audience into account and use language that is easily understandable. Avoid using jargon, complex terms, and undefined abbreviations or acronyms. Instead, opt for simple language and do not assume prior knowledge. Always provide the necessary information for respondents to comprehend the questions. If any concepts or terms need clarification for respondents to answer accurately, make sure to define them. Additionally, when referencing unfamiliar elements, include relevant details to aid in their understanding. Ask only one question at a time. Each question should focus on a single item or concept. This generally means that questions should have one verb. In double-barrel questions, the respondent is forced to evaluate more than one aspect in a question, but only allow for a single response. This type of questions should be avoided. Practice good grammar. Ensure that the questions are simple and grammatically correct. Maintaining a consistently using the same words and phrases improves the understanding by the reader. Commence the questions with overarching and general inquiries, gradually transitioning to more specific ones. Also, by having straightforward questions among more intricate ones, you can motivate the respondent to remain engaged. Avoid leading questions. Survey questions, known as leading questions, are designed to steer respondents towards providing a specific desired answer. These questions are carefully framed to prompt responses that align with the surveyor's preconceived notions and are typically favorable to the surveyor's perspective. This should not be done unless it is really necessary according to the objective of the survey.